Welcome to my channel, Bookish English. Have you ever known exactly what you wanted to say in English, but the moment someone began talking to you, your mind suddenly became empty, the words disappeared, your confidence disappeared, and you begin thinking, why can't I speak when I already know English? There's a reason this happens, and it may not be the reason you think. Stay with me because once you understand what is happening inside your mind, speaking English can become much easier. Chapter 1. You know English, so why can't you speak? You study English each and every day. You watch English videos. You listen to podcasts. You learn new words. You understand many sentences. Sometimes when you're alone, you even feel that your English is getting very great. You can read a paragraph and understand it. You can listen to a simple conversation and follow it. You can write a message in English. But then something strange happens. Someone suddenly asks you a simple question in English. Maybe they ask, "What did you do yesterday?" or "What do you think about this?" You know the answer. You have the words somewhere in your mind. But suddenly, your mind becomes empty. You look for a sentence, but nothing comes. You know what you want to say, but you can't say it. Then the conversation ends, and 5 minutes later, the perfect sentence comes into your mind. You think, oh, I knew this. Why could I not say it before? If this happens to you, you're not alone. And more significantly, it doesn't mean that your English is poor. There's a large difference between knowing English and using English quickly. When you study alone, your brain has time. You can stop. You can think. You can read the sentence again. You can search for a word. You can correct your grammar. But real conversation is different. In a conversation, everything happens very quick. Someone asks you a question. First, your brain must understand the question. Then it must think of an answer. Then it must find the right English words. After that, it must choose the grammar. Then your mouth must pronounce those words. At the same time, you may also be thinking, am I saying this correctly? Is my pronunciation great? What is this person thinking about me? All of these things are happening in only several seconds. That's plenty of work for your brain. So, when your mind goes blank, your brain may not actually be empty. Your brain may be too busy. Imagine opening 10 different apps on a gradual phone at the same time. The phone may freeze. Does that mean the phone has no information inside it? No. It simply has too much work happening at once. Your mind can do something similar during an English conversation. You're trying to remember vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, meaning, and the other person's reaction all at the same time. The result is that you freeze. This is an significant idea because it changes the way you see your problem. You may think, I need to learn thousands more words, but sometimes, you already know enough words. What you really need is quicker access to the words you already know. Think about a very simple sentence such as, I went to the market yesterday. You probably understand every word in this sentence, but during a conversation, you may begin thinking, should I say go or went? Is it yesterday I went or I went yesterday? Is market the correct word now? A simple sentence becomes challenging because you're checking everything before you speak. You're trying to make the sentence perfect before your mouth is allowed to say it. This habit can gradual you down so much that you lose the whole sentence. Here is something truly essential. Conversation isn't a grammar exam. Your goal isn't to create the most lovely sentence in the world. Your goal is to communicate your idea. Let us imagine that someone asks, what did you do on Sunday? You want to answer, I went to my friend's house and we watched a movie together. But you suddenly forget how to say everything perfectly. Instead of becoming silent, you can use easier English. You can say, I visited my friend. We watched a movie. That's enough. The message is clear. Maybe the sentence isn't advanced, but it works. This is one of the largest secrets of speaking improved English. When your brain feels pressure, make your English simpler. Simple English isn't poor English. Simple English is powerful because it allows you to keep speaking. Many learners make another mistake. They believe they should speak at the same level that they can understand. But your listening vocabulary is often much larger than your speaking vocabulary. You may understand a challenging phrase when you hear it, but that doesn't mean you can immediately use it in conversation. This is normal. Your brain needs practice turning passive English into active English. Think of it like learning to drive. Reading about driving is useful. Watching someone drive is useful. But at some point, you must sit behind the wheel. Speaking works in the same way. You can study English for years, but your speaking brain becomes quicker only when you actually use English. Here is the great news. If you already understand English, you're not beginning from zero. Plenty of the language is already inside you. Your job is to train your brain to find it quicker. Begin with simple sentences. Stop trying to sound advanced. Answer simple questions aloud. Repeat useful phrases many times. Give yourself permission to make little mistakes. Every time you speak, your brain learns. I know how to do this. Gradually, the distance between thinking and speaking becomes linear. And remember this, the moment your mind goes blank doesn't prove that you can't speak English. It only shows that your brain is still learning how to use English under pressure. But there's another reason your words can suddenly disappear. Even when you know exactly what you want to say, it's not really about vocabulary, it's not really about grammar, it's about fear. In the next chapter, we will discover how fear can block the English you already know, and how you can stop giving that fear so much power. Chapter 2. Fear is blocking the English you already know. Sometimes you know the words, you know the grammar, you even know exactly what you want to say, but the moment another person looks at you and waits for your answer, something changes. Your heart begins beating quicker, your body becomes a bit tense, your mind begins thinking about mistakes. Suddenly, the English that was clear in your head feels far away. You may ask yourself, what if I say something wrong? What if my pronunciation sounds strange? What if this person doesn't understand me? What if they think my English is poor? These thoughts can appear very quickly, and sometimes you don't even notice them, but they can have a powerful effect on your speaking. This is one of the largest reasons your mind goes blank. It's not always because you don't know enough English. Sometimes fear is standing between you and the English you already know. Imagine this situation: you're sitting alone at home, and someone asks you in a practice video, tell me about your daily routine. You can answer easily. You say, I wake up at 7 o'clock. I have breakfast. I go to work. I come home in the evening. Everything feels simple. But now imagine that a real person asks you the same question face to face. Maybe it's a teacher, a new friend, a customer, a colleague, or someone who speaks English very well. Suddenly, the same question feels challenging. Why? The English didn't change. The question didn't change. What changed was the pressure. Now your brain isn't only trying to answer, it's also thinking about the other person it's asking. Are they judging me? Am I speaking too gradually? Did I use the correct tense? Does my accent sound poor? You're no longer only having a conversation. In your mind, you're taking a test. This is truly essential to understand. When you treat every English conversation like an exam, your brain becomes too careful. You begin checking every word before you say it. You think about grammar while you're speaking. You think about pronunciation while you're speaking. You think about the listener's face while you're speaking. And all of this pressure makes speaking much harder. The strange thing is that you may know the correct sentence, but fear can make it challenging to reach. Think about how simple it's to remember your own phone number when you're relaxed. But if someone suddenly says, quick, tell me your number right now, you may even need a second to remember it. Pressure can make simple things feel challenging. The same thing can happen with English. One of the most powerful changes you can make is this. Stop trying to impress people with your English, begin trying to communicate with them. These two goals are very different. If your goal is to impress someone, every mistake feels dangerous. You want perfect grammar. You want perfect pronunciation. You want advanced vocabulary. You want to sound fluent. But if your goal is communication, the question becomes much simpler. Can this person understand my message? That's all. If the answer is yes, the conversation is working. You don't need a challenging sentence when a simple sentence can do the job. You don't need to say, I have been experiencing challenging expressing my thoughts in English. You can simply say, it's hard for me to explain this in English. Both sentences communicate the idea. The second one may actually assist you speak more confidently because it's easier. Here is something many learners forget. Most people aren't sitting there waiting for you to make a grammar mistake. In normal conversations, people usually care about the message. If you say, yesterday I go to market, the grammar isn't perfect, but most people will understand you. Of course, learning correct grammar is significant, and with practice, you can improve it. But, during a real conversation, communication comes first. If you stop every time you're unsure about one little grammar point, you will lose your flow. Sometimes it's improved to say the sentence, continue speaking, and learn from the mistake later. Fear also becomes powerfuler when you expect yourself to speak too quick. You hear fluent speakers talking quickly, and you think you should do the same. But you don't need to speak quick to speak well. Gradual English can still be clear and confident. In fact, speaking a bit gradualer can assist your brain organize ideas, choose words, and stay calm. If someone asks you a question, you're allowed to pause, you're allowed to take 1 or 2 seconds, you're allowed to say, let me think. There's nothing wrong with that. Even native speakers pause. Even fluent speakers sometimes search for words. The difference is that they don't always see the pause as a failure. You can also reduce fear by changing the way you think about mistakes. A mistake isn't proof that you're poor at English. A mistake is information. It shows you what you must practice next. Imagine that you say, she go to school each and every day, and later you realize that you should have said, she goes to school every day. Great. Now you have learned something useful. The mistake assisted you notice the correct form. If you never speak because you're afraid of mistakes, you also remove many chances to improve. Speaking is where your English becomes real. Try this simple mental rule before your next English conversation. My job isn't to be perfect. My job is to keep the conversation moving. If you forget a challenging word, use an easier one. If you forget a sentence, begin again with something simpler. If your pronunciation isn't perfect, speak clearly and continue. If you make a grammar mistake, don't punish yourself inside your mind. Keep going. Every time you continue after a mistake, you teach your brain that speaking English is safe. And this matters because confidence doesn't usually come before speaking. Confidence grows after repeated speaking. First, you speak with fear. Then you realize that nothing terrible happened. Then you speak again. Little by little, the fear becomes littler. One day you may notice that you're answering a question without thinking about every word. That's how progress often happens. Not in one large moment, but through many little conversations. But there's another reason your mind goes blank. And this one surprises many learners. You may be studying English each and every day, listening every day, and understanding more and more, but still struggle to speak. Why? Because your brain may have been trained to recognize English, not produce it. In the next chapter, we will discover the difference between English you understand and English you can actually use. And this difference can completely change the way you practice. Chapter 3. You have trained your brain to recognize English, not produce it. You may listen to English each and every day. You may watch videos, read short stories, study grammar, and learn new words. Sometimes you understand almost everything. This can make you think, my English is getting very great. And yes, your English is improving. But then someone asks you a simple question, and suddenly you can't find the words. You understand English, but you can't use it quickly. Why does this happen? One large reason is that your brain may be trained to recognize English, but not to produce it. These are two different skills. Understanding a sentence is easier than creating that sentence by yourself. When you hear someone say, I'm looking forward to the weekend, you may understand the meaning immediately. But during your own conversation, you may never think of using that same phrase. The phrase is inside your memory, but it's still passive. You can recognize it, but you can't use it automatically. Think about vocabulary. You may know the word opportunity. When you see it in a book, you understand it. When you hear it in a video, you know what it means. But imagine someone asks, why are you learning English? Maybe you want to say, English can give me improved opportunities, yet your brain may not remember the word opportunities at that moment. Later, after the conversation, the word suddenly comes back. You think, oh, I knew that word. This happens because knowing a word when you see it's not the same as finding that word when you need it. Your brain needs practice bringing words out, not only taking words in. This is where active English and passive English become significant. Passive English is the English you can understand when you read or hear it. Active English is the English you can use when you speak or write. Most learners have much more passive English than active English. This is completely normal. You may understand 1,000 useful expressions, but only use a little number of them when speaking. So, the answer isn't always to learn more and more new words. Sometimes the answer is to activate the English you already know. How can you do that? Begin using every useful phrase you learn. Don't only read it, don't only understand it. Speak it. Make it personal. For example, imagine you learn the phrase I usually don't stop after understanding it. Say, I usually wake up at 7 o'clock. I usually drink tea in the morning. I usually study English at night. I usually go for a walk after dinner. Now your brain is doing something different. It's producing English. You're taking the phrase out of passive memory and putting it into active memory. You can do the same with other simple patterns. If you learn I would like to, create your own sentences. I would like to travel. I would like to speak English confidently. I would like to find an improved job. If you learn I think that, use it immediately. I think that English is significant. I think that practice is improved than perfection. I think that I can improve. This kind of practice may look simple, but it's powerful because your brain begins learning how to build sentences quickly. And here is another significant point. Speak aloud. Thinking in English is assistful, but your mouth also needs practice. Your tongue needs to move. Your ears need to hear your own voice. Your brain, mouth, and ears need to learn how to work together. You can't become comfortable speaking only by staying silent. So, from today change one little thing. Every time you learn a useful sentence or phrase, use it 3, 4, or 5 times with your own ideas. Turn understanding into speaking. Turn passive English into active English. The more often you do this, the quicker your brain will find words when you need them. But there's still another problem. Even when learners know useful words and phrases, they often try to build every sentence one word at a time, and that can make the mind freeze again. In the next chapter, you will learn why speaking in ready-made word groups can make your English quicker, easier, and much more natural. Chapter 4. Stop building every sentence word by word. One of the largest reasons your mind goes blank is that you're trying to build every sentence from zero. You have an idea in your mind, but instead of speaking it naturally, your brain begins working like a translator. First, you think about the sentence in your own language. Then you search for the first English word. After that, you search for the second word. Then you begin thinking about grammar. You ask yourself, which tense should I use? Is this word correct? Should I use is, was, have, or had? While you're thinking about all these things, the other person is already waiting for your answer. You begin feeling pressure. Your heart beats quicker. Your mind becomes more confused. And finally, nothing comes out. This doesn't happen because you're not intelligent. It happens because you're asking your brain to do too many things at the same time. Imagine someone asks you, what do you usually do after work? This is a simple question. You already know the answer. Maybe you want to say, I usually go home, take some rest, have dinner, and watch YouTube. But if you begin translating every part of this sentence, the answer becomes challenging. You may first think about how to say usually. Then you wonder whether you should say go home or go to home. Then you think about the word rest. Then you ask yourself whether have dinner is correct. The conversation becomes gradual because you're trying to create every little part separately. This is like building a house while someone is waiting outside the door. You're searching for one brick, then another brick, then another. Of course it feels challenging. There's a much easier way. Instead of learning English only as single words, begin learning English in little groups of words. These groups are often called chunks or phrases. A phrase is a group of words that you can use together again and again. For example, instead of only learning the word think, learn the phrase I think that. Instead of learning only the word sure, learn I'm not sure, but. Instead of learning only the word mean, learn what I mean is. These phrases give your brain a ready beginning. You don't have to create the entire sentence from nothing. You already have the first part and you only need to add your idea. Let us look at the phrase I think that. You can use it in many situations. I think that English is significant. I think that this movie is great. I think that daily practice assists a lot. I think that speaking is challenging at first. You're not creating a completely new sentence every time. Your brain already knows the pattern. I think that. Now it only needs to add the information. This makes speaking quicker. It also reduces pressure because part of the sentence is already ready. You can do the same with the phrase in my opinion. Maybe someone asks, is learning English online useful? You can say, in my opinion, it's very useful. Someone asks, is it improved to study alone or with a teacher? You can say, in my opinion, both can assist. Someone asks about a movie, a job, a city, or a book. You can begin with the same phrase. One useful phrase can assist you in many different conversations. Another powerful phrase is I'm not sure, but. This is especially useful when you don't know the perfect answer. Imagine someone asks, why do people learn languages quicker when they are young? Maybe you're not completely sure. You don't need to freeze. You can say, I'm not sure, but maybe children are less afraid of mistakes. Now the conversation continues. You gave yourself time, and you didn't need a perfect answer. You should also learn phrases that assist you explain ideas. For example, the reason is, the problem is, the great thing is, the significant thing is. These phrases are simple, but they are extremely useful. You can say the reason is that I need English for my job. The problem is that I don't practice speaking enough. The great thing is that I understand more now. The significant thing is to practice each and every day. When these phrases become automatic, speaking becomes easier because you're no longer searching for every single word. Here is another simple example. Imagine someone asks, why are you learning English? A learner who builds the sentence word by word may become nervous. They may begin thinking, English, job, future, improved opportunities. The ideas are there, but the sentence isn't ready. Now imagine that the learner already knows 3 useful phrases. I'm learning English because I want to and it can assist me. The answer becomes much easier. I'm learning English because I want to improve my career. I want to speak with more people. It can assist me find improved opportunities. These are simple sentences, but they sound clear and confident. The best phrases aren't always advanced phrases. In fact, for beginners, simple phrases are more powerful because you can use them quickly. You don't need to memorize hundreds of challenging expressions. Begin with phrases you can use each and every day. Learn I usually, I like, I don't really like, I want to, I need to, I would like to, I think. For example, the reason is, it depends on. Let me explain. These phrases can assist you talk about your routine, family, work, study, hobbies, goals, opinions, and many other topics. Here is something truly essential. Fluent speakers also use the same patterns again and again. They are not creating every sentence completely from zero. They have thousands of familiar word groups in their minds. That's one reason their speech feels quick and natural. When they want to share an opinion, they already have expressions ready. When they want to give an example, they have expressions ready. When they want to disagree politely, they have expressions ready. When they want to disagree politely, they have expressions ready. You can build the same habit step by step. A great way to practice is to choose 5 useful phrases and make several personal sentences with each one. For example, choose I usually, then say, I usually wake up early. I usually drink tea in the morning. I usually study English at night. Next, take I want to and say, I want to speak English fluently. I want to travel. I want to improve my pronunciation. Then choose I think that and make 3 more sentences. This exercise teaches your brain to use the same pattern with different ideas. After some practice, the phrase begins to come automatically. You should also collect phrases from your own life. This is much improved than memorizing random challenging words. If you work in an office, learn phrases about meetings, emails, schedules, and tasks. If you're a student, learn phrases about classes, exams, homework, and teachers. If you often talk about your family, learn sentences about family. If you love movies, learn phrases for talking about movies. Your English should match your real life, because those are the sentences you will actually need. You can even create a little phrase notebook. Don't write only single words. Write complete useful expressions. Instead of writing opinion, write in my opinion. Instead of writing reason, write the reason is. Instead of writing example, write for example. Then practice saying these phrases aloud. The goal isn't only to understand them. The goal is to make them automatic. And remember, you don't need 50 new phrases each and every day. 5 useful phrases practiced deeply are often more valuable than 50 phrases you forget. Repeat them. Use them with different topics. Speak them aloud. Make them part of your daily English. Over time, you want is something exciting. When someone asks you a question, your brain won't begin searching for every single word. A useful phrase will come first, and the rest of the sentence will follow more easily. This is how you make English lighter for your mind. Stop carrying every word separately, begin carrying groups of words together. When these groups become familiar, your brain has less work to do, and you have more space to focus on your message. But there's still one more reason you may freeze in conversation. Sometimes you actually know what to say, but you feel that you must answer immediately. You think even a short pause is embarrassing, so you put yourself under more pressure. In the next chapter, you will learn how to buy yourself thinking time naturally. Keep the conversation moving, and stay calm even when the perfect words don't come immediately. Chapter 5. Learn how to buy yourself thinking time. One reason your mind goes blank is very simple. You think you must answer immediately. Someone asks you a question and you feel that you have only 1 or 2 seconds to respond. You become nervous because you believe silence is a problem. You think, if I pause, they will think my English is poor. So, you force your brain to find the perfect words very quickly, and the more pressure you create, the harder it becomes to speak. But, here is something significant you should remember. You don't need to answer every question immediately. A short pause is normal. Even fluent English speakers pause. Even native speakers sometimes stop, think, change a word, or rebegin a sentence. Speaking naturally doesn't mean speaking without pauses. It means knowing how to continue even when you need time to think. Imagine someone asks you, "What do you think about working from home?" Maybe you understand the question, but you're not ready with an answer. If you stay completely silent, your mind may begin panicking. You think, say something, and that pressure can make your mind even more empty. But instead, you can say, "That's a great question. Let me think." Now something changes. You're still part of the conversation. The other person knows that you're thinking, and your brain gets several extra seconds. During those seconds, you can prepare your first idea. You might continue, "I think working from home is great because it saves time." That little phrase, "let me think," can become a very useful tool. There are many simple phrases you can use when you need thinking time. You can say, "Well, actually, let me think. That's an interesting question. I'm not sure, but how can I explain this? Let me see." These phrases aren't useless words. They give your brain time. They assist you stay calm while you prepare your answer. For example, someone asks, "Where would you like to travel in the future?" You can say, "Let me think. I would really like to visit Japan," because now you have already begun speaking, and the rest becomes easier. Sometimes the hardest part is simply beginning. Another reason learners freeze is that they forget one word and then stop the whole conversation. Maybe you want to say, "I forgot my umbrella," but suddenly you can't remember the word umbrella. Your brain begins searching for it. You know what it's. You can see it in your mind, but the English word doesn't come. Many learners become silent at this moment, but you don't need to stop. Describe the word. You can say, "I forgot the thing we use when it rains." The listener will probably understand and may even tell you, "Oh, an umbrella. Great." The conversation continued, and you also remembered the word. This is a very powerful speaking skill. If you forget pharmacy, you can say, "The shop where we buy medicine." If you forget neighbor, you can say, "The person who lives next to my house." If you forget wallet, you can say, "The little thing where I keep my money and cards." You don't need every perfect word to communicate. Sometimes you can go around the missing word. This is what great speakers do. They don't stop because one word is missing. They find another road to the same idea. Remember this sentence. Fluency isn't knowing every word. Fluency is knowing how to continue when you don't know a word. This idea can completely change the way you speak. Maybe you have always thought, "I need a much larger vocabulary before I can speak confidently." Of course, learning vocabulary is useful, but even people with a large vocabulary sometimes forget words. The real skill is staying calm and continuing. You should also stop rebegining your entire sentence every time you make a little mistake. Imagine you say, "Yesterday I go. Sorry, I went to the market." That's fine. You corrected yourself and continued. But many learners do something different. They say, "Yesterday I go. No, sorry. Yesterday I went. Wait. Yesterday I." Soon they become nervous and forget what they wanted to say. Don't turn one little mistake into a large problem. Correct it quickly if you can, and then move forward. Sometimes you don't even need to correct yourself immediately. If the listener understands your meaning, you can continue and think about the mistake later. Your main goal during conversation is communication. You can study grammar after the conversation. You can write down the mistake and practice it later. But when you're talking to someone, try to protect your flow. Another significant thing is to become comfortable with little moments of silence. A 1 second or 2 second pause may feel very long inside your head, but to the listener, it's usually completely normal. Try this the next time someone asks you a question. Don't rush. Take a little breath. Look at the person. Think for a moment. Then begin. You might be surprised by how much easier your answer feels. You can practice this skill even when you're alone. Ask yourself a question such as, "What is your favorite food?" Then intentionally pause for 2 seconds. Say, "Let me think. My favorite food is." Ask another question. "What do you want to do this weekend?" Say, "Well, I think I want to practice these thinking phrases until they become automatic." Then, during a real conversation, they will come naturally. The goal isn't to remove every pause from your English. The goal is to stop being afraid of pauses. Give your brain permission to think. Use simple phrases to create time. Describe words when you forget them. Correct little mistakes and keep moving. The more you practice these skills, the less frightening blank moments will become. But knowing these techniques is only the beginning. If you want your brain to use them automatically, you need regular speaking practice. In the next chapter, I will show you a simple 5-minute daily practice that can train your brain to respond quicker, think more clearly, and keep speaking even when the perfect words don't come. Chapter 6. Train your brain with the 5-minute no blank practice. Now you understand why your mind can go blank. You know that pressure can make speaking harder. You know that fear can block the English you already have. You also know that building every sentence word by word can graduate your brain down. But understanding the problem isn't enough. Your brain needs training. It needs repeated practice so that speaking becomes quicker and more natural. The great news is that you don't need 1 hour each and every day. You don't need a speaking partner each and every day. You don't need expensive classes. You can begin with only 5 minutes. 5 focused minutes can train your brain to find words quicker, create simple sentences, and keep talking when you feel stuck. The first minute is very simple. Look around you and describe what you can see. Don't try to use challenging vocabulary. Use the English you already know. You can say, "I am sitting in my room. There's a table in front of me. My phone is on the table. The window is open. I can see a chair. There's a book near my computer." Keep going for 1 full minute. If you don't know the name of something, describe it. For example, maybe you forget the word curtain. You can say, "There's something near the window. It covers the window." The significant thing isn't perfect vocabulary. The significant thing is that you keep speaking. This first minute teaches your brain to connect what you see directly with English words. During the second minute, talk about your day. Tell yourself what you did from morning until now. Again, keep your sentences simple. You can say, "I woke up at 7 o'clock. I washed my face. I had breakfast. I drank tea. Then I went to work. I talked to my friend. I came home in the afternoon." You don't need to tell an exciting story. Your normal life is enough. This exercise is powerful because daily routines use many common English words. When you repeat these words often, they become easier to remember in real conversations. After several days, sentences like "I woke up early," "I went to work," or "I had lunch," may begin to come without much thinking. For the third minute, answer one common question. Choose a question that people may really ask you. For example, "What do you do in your free time? Why are you learning English? Tell me about your family. What is your favorite food? What do you do for work? Or what are your future goals?" Choose only one question and speak about it for 1 minute. If the question is "Why are you learning English?" you might say, "I am learning English because I want to speak confidently. English is useful for my work. I also want to understand videos and talk to people from different countries. Sometimes speaking is challenging for me, but I am practicing each and every day." That's already a powerful answer. You're training your brain to answer questions that may appear in real life. Now comes the fourth minute, and this part is truly essential. Answer the same question again. Yes, repeat it. But this time, try to make your answer a bit improved. Maybe add one more detail. Maybe use one useful phrase from an earlier chapter. You could say, I think that English can create new opportunities for me. The main reason I am learning English is that I want to communicate with more people. When you repeat the same answer, your brain doesn't have to begin from zero. It remembers parts of the first answer and improves them. This is how sentences gradually become automatic. Repetition isn't boring when it's assisting your speaking become quicker. The 5th minute is the most powerful part. I call it the keep talking challenge. Choose any simple topic and try to keep speaking for 1 minute without completely stopping. You can talk about your hometown, your family, your favorite movie, your weekend, your job, your plans, or something you want to learn. The goal isn't to speak perfectly. The goal is to continue. If your mind becomes blank, use one of your rescue phrases. Say, let me think. What I mean is, how can I explain this? I'm not sure. But then continue. If you forget a word, describe it. If you make a grammar mistake, don't stop the whole exercise. Keep going. This 5th minute is where you train one of the most significant speaking skills, recovery. Anyone can speak when every word comes easily. Real confidence grows when you learn what to do when the words don't come. Maybe you forget a word. Maybe your sentence becomes confusing. Maybe you use the wrong tense. Don't stop. Find another way. Your brain needs to learn that a little problem doesn't mean the conversation is completed. And please remember this. During these 5 minutes, don't become your own strict grammar teacher. If you stop every 5 seconds to correct yourself, you will train hesitation instead of fluency. Grammar practice is useful, but it can happen at another time. During this exercise, your main job is to speak. After you complete, you can think about 1 or 2 mistakes and learn from them. But while speaking, protect your flow. Now imagine doing this each and every day for 30 days. 5 minutes may sound little, but 5 minutes each and every day becomes 150 minutes of focused speaking practice in 1 month. More significantly, the practice is repeated. Your brain gets the same message each and every day. English isn't only something I listen to. English is something I use. Your progress may not feel dramatic at first. Maybe on day 1, you stop every 10 seconds. On day 5, you stop every 7 seconds. On day 10, a useful phrase suddenly comes without translation. On day 15, you answer a common question more easily. On day 20, you notice that you can speak for 30 seconds without becoming completely blank. These may look like little changes, but they are signs that your brain is becoming quicker. Don't wait for a perfect day to begin. You can begin today. Look around your room and speak for 1 minute. Talk about your day. Answer one question. Repeat your answer. Then do the keep talking challenge. That's all 5 minutes. And if your English feels simple, that's completely fine. Simple English spoken confidently is much more useful than advanced English that stays silent inside your head. You're not trying to prove how many challenging words you know. You're training yourself to communicate. But there's one final problem that can stop all this progress. Many learners practice for several days, then stop because they still don't feel ready. They think confidence must come first. In the next chapter, you will discover why waiting to feel ready can keep you stuck for years, and why speaking before you feel ready may be the exact thing that finally gives you confidence. Chapter 7. Stop waiting to feel ready. There's one final idea you must understand, and this idea can change the way you speak English forever. Many learners are waiting for confidence before they begin speaking. They tell themselves, when my grammar gets improved, I will speak. When I learn more vocabulary, I will speak. When my pronunciation improves, I will speak. When I feel ready, I will speak. But this is where many learners stay stuck for months or even years. The truth is that confidence usually doesn't come first. Speaking comes first. Confidence grows because you speak, make mistakes, continue, and gradually realize that you can handle the conversation. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. You can't become confident by only watching other people ride. You can watch hundreds of videos. You can read about balance. You can learn everything about bicycles. But at some point, you have to get on the bicycle. At first, you may feel nervous. You may lose balance. You may make mistakes. But every attempt teaches your body something. Speaking English works in a similar way. You can study grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and listening for years. But speaking confidence grows when you actually speak. Maybe your mind still goes blank sometimes. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means your brain is still learning how to speak under pressure. Remember everything we have learned. Sometimes your brain becomes overloaded because you're trying to think about grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and the listener at the same time. Sometimes fear blocks the English you already know. Sometimes you understand many words, but they are still passive and not ready for quick speaking. Sometimes you're building every sentence word by word, and sometimes you simply put too much pressure on yourself to answer immediately. Now you know what to do. When your mind goes blank, don't panic. Pause for a moment. Say, "Let me think." Use a simple phrase that you already know. Choose easier words. If you forget one word, describe it. If you make a little grammar mistake, continue. Your job isn't to create a perfect sentence. Your job is to keep communication alive. This is a powerful change. Imagine someone asks you, "What are your plans for the future?" in the past. You might panic because you want to give a perfect answer. But now you can say, "Let me think. I have several plans. First, I want to improve my English. I also want to grow in my career. I'm not sure about everything yet, but I want to keep learning. Is this the most advanced English in the world? No. Does it communicate clearly? Yes. And that's what matters." You should also change the way you look at mistakes. Don't complete a conversation and say, "My English was terrible." That sentence teaches you nothing. Instead, ask yourself, "What did I want to say but couldn't say?" Maybe you wanted to explain that you were tired because you worked late. Maybe you didn't know how to say it. Great. After the conversation, learn the sentence. "I was tired because I worked late." Say it 5 times. Use it again tomorrow. Now the uncomfortable moment has become useful practice. This can become one of your powerfulest learning habits. Every challenging conversation can teach you something. Every forgotten word can become a new word. Every weak sentence can become an improved sentence. Every mistake can become a lesson. Instead of being embarrassed by your mistakes, use them. And please remember this. Progress doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes progress is very little. Maybe you answered a question in 10 seconds instead of 20. Maybe you used one phrase without translating. Maybe you continued speaking after forgetting a word. Maybe you spoke for 1 minute without stopping completely. These little moments matter. They are signs that your speaking brain is getting powerfuler. Don't compare your beginning with someone else's advanced level. You may hear another person speaking smoothly and think, "I will never speak like that." But you don't know how much practice they have done. You don't know how many mistakes they made. You don't know how many uncomfortable conversations they had before becoming confident. Focus on your own next step. Your English doesn't need to be perfect today. It only needs to be used today. Speak for 5 minutes. Answer one question aloud. Repeat one useful phrase. Talk to yourself while walking. Describe what you see. Have one little conversation. Every time you use English, you're telling your brain, "This language is part of my life." And one day, something lovely will happen. Someone will ask you a question in English, and instead of becoming completely blank, a simple phrase will come into your mind. You will begin, maybe gradually, maybe with a pause, but you will continue. And that moment will show you that confidence wasn't something you had to wait for. You were building it every time you spoke. So, stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for perfect grammar. Stop waiting for perfect pronunciation. Stop waiting to feel completely ready. You become ready by practicing. You become confident by speaking. And every imperfect sentence you say today is assisting you create powerfuler English for tomorrow.